Hi, welcome back to Reading with Money. I'm Money, and today I'm doing, finally, my September wrap-up. I am very late, and I'm filming this late at night, which I know I shouldn't do, because I'm always interrupted by motorbikes, because it's the delivery time for, food. Um, but, yeah, life got in the way, so yes, today is the 12th as I'm filming this, so yeah. Let's just dive right in. I read 7 books in September. All of them from my TBR except one that was extra, which I think was pretty nice. And yeah, I'm gonna do it a bit differently this time, and I'm gonna do it by ranking. I always do it like chronologically, but I think this time I'm gonna do it by ranking, and let's see how it goes. So out of those 7 books, 3 were 5 stars, 1 was 4-star, and the other 3 were 3 stars. A lot of these were like highly anticipated, very hyped books, and yeah, keep watching to see if they've lived up to the hype for me. Yeah. So the book I enjoyed least, I would say, this month is a tie, but I'm gonna start with one randomly, I guess, and that is The Woman in the Library by Sudari Gentile. I don't know. I still don't know what it was about this book that I didn't enjoy, but let me tell you what it is about. It's a mystery, but it's a mystery within a mystery, because we have like 2 stories. One of them is a writer writing this mystery story, and she's sending the chapters to a friend. So we get the mystery story she's writing, in which there are 4 strangers in a library, and they hear a woman scream, and that unites them when they find out later that they have found a woman dead in the library, hidden somewhere. So they form a bond. These were 4 strangers. There is a tiny bug. There was a tiny bug crawling through my phone screen, and I thought it was behind me, and it was like a huge cockroach. Okay. Anyway, so these 4 strangers form a bond as they try to figure out what's going on, especially because one of the characters in that story is also a writer. They're 2 writers, and one of them is a mystery writer. I can't remember now. Anyway, so we get those chapters, and interspersed we get the commentary from this author's friend who is reading the chapters as we go along. And at first I thought it was very interesting because it was very meta, because like the friend was like suggesting changes because she's from Australia and the story was set in the US. So he was always giving her pointers of like, we wouldn't say this and we would say that, or I can show you pictures of this place where a student would go to, and like, yeah. And the mystery sounded intriguing enough, and then it all just started kind of unraveling. I don't know. It got a bit tedious at a point in the middle. I don't know. So I still enjoyed it. It was still a fun mystery. There's some things about the ending that I don't think quite add up, maybe, or that there wasn't enough. There weren't enough clues left for the reader to figure out. I don't know. It was weird. I liked the idea of it, not so much the execution, I guess, but it was still fun, so I gave it 3 stars. So, yeah. The next book I'm going to talk about, and again, these are all 3 stars, and they're all kind of tied, but for like different reasons, but I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you. The next book is Babel by R.F. Kuang. This was a very hyped up book. It came out last month or the month before, can't remember now. And it was like all the rage through BookTube and Goodreads and everything. And I just didn't really like it. You can watch my vlog. I tried to do like a dark academia sort of vlog, because if you don't know, this book is in the dark academia genre. We follow Robin, who is an orphan from Canton, from China, and he's taken by this mysterious professor to live in Oxford with him, and he's going to learn Latin and Greeks and the classics and languages because he's very gifted at languages. He knows English from reading books and having an English nurse, I guess, back in Canton when he was a boy. So yes. And then he's supposed to be going to Oxford University, where there is an Institute of Translation. And the Institute of Translation in this story, which is set in the 1800s, I didn't mention that, so this is historical fiction, but with a speculative element, because as I was saying, in this Institute of Translation, one of the things that they do is work with silver working, which is magic, basically, in which you have some silver bars and you inscribe words on them from different languages, but that mean the same thing, technically. But whatever gets lost in the translation of it is what produces the magic and produces some sort of effect. Which sounds fascinating. But without going into too many spoilers, I found it a bit disappointing. Yeah, especially the use of the magic. So much more could have been done with it. And for a speculative historical fiction book, I expect the history to be different, like from actual history. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't really like it that much. You can see more of my thoughts on that vlog, again, without going into spoilers. But I didn't really connect with the characters. I found that there was not a lot of character development in them, except like at the end, and some characters were kind of underutilized, and some of them were just straight up caricatures of what a character should be. So yeah, I'm trying not to be too harsh, but yeah, I just didn't. There were parts that I enjoyed, as I said in the vlog. I enjoyed all the discussions about translation and etymology and being bilingual or multilingual in our characters' cases. But yeah, the ending was basically what nailed it for me, that it was not the book for me. But again, more thoughts on that vlog. And finally, the last 3-star book is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. Now, I read this book because my sister asked me to, and it was a fun experience. Let me just say that. I think I enjoyed that book more than I thought I was going to. In fact, I'm pretty sure I have told many people that I would never, and in fact I've said in a few videos that I would never read this book, but yeah, my sister asked and she wanted to discuss the book with me, so yes, I did it. It was a fast read. I read it in like a couple of days. Also, I was home because I had sprained my ankle, but still. There we go with the motorbikes again. And I have a whole vlog about that too, so you can go watch that too. That one is spoiler full. It's full of spoilers. If you don't know what it is about and you don't want to check out that vlog because there are spoilers in it, this is a fantasy romance book. We have Feyre, who is a human, and in this world, the continent is divided between the human world and the Fey world, and there's a wall between them because the Fays and the humans don't get along. There was a war ages ago and whatever. And Feyre is taken for some reason to the fairy world. And this is basically a Beauty and the Beast retelling, so you can kind of tell where it's going. I don't know what more to say without spoiling things, so I'm gonna leave it at that. Again, I enjoyed this book more than I thought I would. There were many things that made me roll my eyes. There were certain things about the writing that I just did not enjoy. In particular, some phrases being repeated all the time. In this book, it was Feyre's feeling like her chest was caving in every time something bad happened. And the characters growl and snarl and do a lot of animal noises all the time. But again, it was fine. The ending was too long, in my opinion. Like it dragged on for way too long. But having now read the second book, yeah, it sets up things for the second book, I guess. But it was still like I was ready for the book to end, and then yeah, more things kept happening. But yeah, it was a fun experience. I enjoyed texting my sister about it and then discussing it with her, so I gave it 3 stars. Okay, next move on to my favorites of the month. First we have the 4-star book, and that was The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana. Did I say that correctly? I always mess it up. Yes, I think I did. This book is about a witch in this world, in the modern world, I think. In this world, the witches are not supposed to congregate or be together because then dangerous things happen. So she kind of craves the community of being a witch, but she doesn't really have a family. She's an orphan. There's a whole thing about witches being orphans, being orphaned at some point because of the magic or whatever. And so she posts videos online of her like pretending to be a witch or doing like the whole witchcore vibe thing. And eventually she's contacted by this old man who wants her to come to this estate in the middle of nowhere in England to teach 3 young witches. And so she goes. And the 3 girls are indeed witches, and it's a found family trope done in a really nice way. I really enjoyed it. There are other characters. There's the old man who first contacted her and his partner. They're this lovely old couple, and I love them very much. I think they were my favorite characters out of the whole bunch. And then there's the librarian of the house, and who is the witch's, like the girl's tutor. And yeah, that's the love interest, because it has a rom-com romance kind of thing going on. And I really enjoyed this book. It was sweet and fluffy and lovely. It reminded me a lot of The House on the Cerulean Sea, but I didn't enjoy it as much as The House on the Cerulean Sea. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was lovely, and it is a nice witchy book to read. The magic was also quite interesting in this. Kind of vague, but still an interesting system, and I really enjoyed it. And then we get to my favorites of the month, and surprisingly, I don't think it's gonna be difficult for me to choose a favorite, so stay tuned. So, the last book I read in the month was actually one of those 5-star reads, and that was The Bullet That Missed by Richard Osman. This book is fantastic. It's the 3rd in the Thursday Murder Club series, and I just adore these books so much. They follow this group of 4, I don't know how old they are, like they're in their 70s, and they live in like a retirement community in England, and their hobby is to get together once a week on Thursdays to discuss cold cases, cold murder cases, they get files from the police and try to go over them and try to discover things that the police hadn't. And well, in the first book, an actual murder happens, and well, these 4 start to investigate. I love them so much. I can't tell you how much I love these characters, like all of them. We have the 4 main ones. There's 2 women and 2 men, and they are all very distinct characters with fascinating backstories, and they met. I love them. And then they also befriend one of the chief inspectors, and one of the, what are they called in England? Detective Chief Inspector, DCI, is that it? And his next in rank. So it's a man and a woman, and I just love them as well. And all the side characters that appear are just great. The handyman of the retirement community is like my favorite character. I don't know how to choose, but he's one of my favorites. He's great. Bolton, I love him. Anyway, without rambling too much, I can't really say much about the 3rd book, but it's another mystery involving these 4 people very closely this time, and yeah, it was fantastic. It's like a cozy mystery with the right dash of British humor and heartwarming scenes, and I literally laugh out loud reading them and then just go, oh, my heart. And yeah, I love them. If you haven't read them and you're looking for a cozy mystery series, this is the one I'd recommend. Okay, next, and this was the first book I read this month, that was Carrie, Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I gave it 5 stars. I can't not give a Taylor Jenkins Reid book in the Jenkins Reid universe at this point a 5 stars. If you've been living under a rock, this book came out last month and it was like super hyped up. It follows Carrie Soto, who had appeared previously in Malibu Rising. She is a tennis player. She has been retired for a few years after having broken the record for most Grand Slams. I think she had like 20. And then one day, another tennis player breaks her record, like matches her record. Like she also wins 20 Grand Slams. And so she decides to come out of retirement to play only in the Grand Slam tournaments and win at least one of them so she can reclaim her throne, basically. Oh, I love this book so much. I didn't love it as much as the previous books, I think, but I still found it super fascinating because we follow a woman who is in her 30s and she's alone. She hasn't found love and she doesn't really have friends because all her life was very dedicated to tennis. And she was seen as kind of like a bitch by the media because she was very ambitious and she said what was on her mind and never really said, oh no, it was luck. She could have won too. She was like, yes, I won because I'm the best. Like, yeah. And yeah, I found her character really fascinating, especially after having seen her in Malibu Rising in not a very good light. Although she was a badass even then. Yeah. I found it really fascinating how her character grows through the book. As we go back to the beginning of her life, when she's a child and she starts training for tennis because her father used to be a professional tennis player as well, back in Argentina, which I'll get to in a second. And well, at some point he moved to the US and got married there and had Carrie. And what I found fascinating about the father as he trains her and, you know, all of that, is the Spanish use in this book. I thought it was really well done because there's no translation after it. Like, you just have to figure out what they meant. I'm not sure how people who don't speak Spanish have been able to really grasp what is being said because honestly, there's no translation after it. Maybe you can guess more or less the gist of the conversation, but there's a lot of it. And what I found fascinating is that it's not the usual Spanish that we see in American novels, because usually American novels that use Spanish usually use kind of like Mexican or Caribbean Spanish, which is very different from what we speak here in Uruguay and at least part of Argentina, like the part that is next to, like around the River Plate. So it's the Spanish that I speak, and it's very different from other Spanish, especially in the verb conjugations. And I found that really great. I know that people say that Taylor Jenkins Reid is appropriating foreign cultures and taking the place of actual diverse authors or whatever. I don't know where I fall on that debate, but I really enjoyed this book. I don't know what to tell you. I think she's a fantastic writer, and yeah, she's writing diverse characters, and I can't really see that as a bad thing. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, and I found the ending really great as well, so I gave it 5 stars. It made me cry. I really, really enjoyed this book. I don't know what else to say. This was probably a mess of a review, but whatever. And the last book on this list, that it was definitely my favorite of the month, and I can't believe I waited this long to read it, but it's the only physical book I read also this month. I finally read A Song for the Wild-Built by Becky Chambers. I don't know why I waited this long. Probably because it's so hyped up and I was scared that I was not going to like it. I have never read anything from Becky Chambers either, so I was like apprehensive, let's say. But this was a perfect. I read it in a sitting, obviously, because it's very short. And I cried multiple times. But I was left feeling so hopeful and so contented. I don't know. I think I read it at exactly the right time. Like, it's dedicated for anybody who could use a break. And I think I really needed that break. I love it so much. If you don't know what this book is about, because again, you've been living under a rock, it's science fiction, but like soft science fiction. In this world, we have humans, and they used to have robots who worked for them in their factories and whatever, until one day the robots kind of like awoke And they decided that they did not want to work for the humans, and so they had a treaty with the humans, and they just left into the wilderness, and the humans promised to leave them alone until and if they decided to come back and, you know, reconnect, I guess. So we follow Dex, who is a monk, and one day they decide to become a tea monk, and they spend their days going around the continent and listening to people's stories and bringing them tea. And it's just, it sounds wonderful. I don't even like tea, and I wanted to sit at Dex's table. I don't know. And one day they decide that they're still not content in their life and that they want to travel more, see other things. And so he ventures into the wilderness where people don't live, and they meet a robot. And I just... their relationship, how it develops into a friendship that is so pure and lovely, even though it's just a few days that they know each other. The conversations they have, they're so heartwarming, and it's exactly what I needed. And yeah, I am absolutely in love with this book. The hype is real. I don't know what to tell you. It's just great. Great. I have since made my best friend read it and my sister, and they both loved it, so I'm obviously right. I'm gonna treasure this book. I can't wait to read the second part, because there's a sequel to it. I think it's Prayer for the Crown Shy. My best friend just finished it, actually, and she told me that it's wonderful and lovely, and yeah, all the adjectives, so can't wait to read it. Anyway, that's it for me today. 7 books read. Pretty unbalanced. Usually I don't have this many 3-star reads. I don't know what happened this month. I'm usually pretty good at choosing what I know I will like. But then again, I was sort of forced into reading A Court of Thorns and Roses, and I felt like I had to read Babel because everyone was talking about it, and I was gonna be mad if I hadn't read it. So yeah, welcome to my life. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did. Comment down below if you have read any of these books, or what was your favorite book of the month. Let's chat about books in the comments, basically. Subscribe if you haven't already. I have a couple more vlogs coming out after this. I just finished, as I said, A Court of Mist and Fury, so you can look forward to hearing my thoughts on that book. Yeah, and I have a horror book vlog coming out as well. So yeah, again, subscribe if you haven't already so you can watch those, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye, happy reading!